Hello there, I am Gifty Auntie. Welcome to TSB with me. Hello there, I am Gifty Auntie. Welcome to TSB with me. This week on TSB, I have an amazing woman for you. She has untold stories. Some of you have seen her on social media. Some of you may have encountered her on other platforms. But she has a story. She's traveled a journey. And today, we will uncover, we will unearth, we will reveal, we will learn, we'll be empowered, and we will understand that it is possible. Let me say thank you to Adipa Fabrics for my fabric. This looks very beautiful and very colorful because she is a very colorful woman. You'll get to understand that. And of course, my dress was made for me by Brie Redra. Thank you so much. My hair by Inshallah GH and makeup by _global. And of course, my beads and earrings by Twinny Craft. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are ready, meet my guest for this week, the one and only Karen Hendrickson. Woo! Karen, join me here. Woo! It's so good. You look so lovely. Woo! Oh, you look lovely.
Thank you.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. Kindly take your seat.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, this is wonderful. I'll be back. Welcome back to the TSP where I'm me. Yes, I am Gifty Auntie. And again, we say thank you to all our supporters. If you want to be a part of this new transformation, rebrand, repackage, please call 020-886-1919, 020-886-1919 or 0598-586868. Longest running talk show when it comes to consistency. No break. July will be 16 years. Yes, the same standpoint. Two brands come together. The Standpoint and the Gifty Auntie brand coming together to form TSP with Gifty Auntie. You can't have it any better anywhere. And my guest today embodies transformation. She's a transformation specialist. But well, let me say thank you to Verna Mineral Water. Verna Mineral Water has a balanced pH levels. It's low in sodium, has all the required minerals. And they believe in what both of us believe in, giving back to society, changing lives, and sharing love wherever they find themselves. Now, let me wear my spectacles and read it properly. She is, actually, I don't know. I don't need to read that because she, as I've told you, she's Karen Hendrickson, and she's a transformation specialist and holds so many positions and portfolios and, you know, what have you. And it's an honor to have her on TSP with Gifty Auntie. You look lovely.
Thank you. Thank
As
you.
always. How do you do it? How do you keep it all together?
Well, I try. And as you know, everything
This is
a
not
team.
trying. This has become like just you. It's you.
Oh my goodness.
Anywhere you meet Karen, this is it.
Well, you know, I have a team who keep me on brand. And also, I love fashion. I've loved fashion since I was a young child. So for me, it's actually quite effortless.
Yeah. You know, you just mentioned you have a team. How important is it for a woman in position of authority to have a team?
It is vital. It is probably the strongest tool in our arsenal to be able to allow us to do the things that we do. Right. And in that team must be people who will tell you the truth, who really have your back and won't just say what they think you want to say. And a small team of 1 or 2 people, 3 people is all you need, but they have to be the right people.
They have to be the right people. But we have this attitude of, you're the boss lady.
Exactly.
I'm the boss. How dare you tell me this? And how prepared should you be? How willing should you be to hear the bitter truth from your team, who you pay anyway?
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. I didn't grow up in a culture where that is the norm.
Right.
So luckily for me, I have been groomed to take advice and critique from wherever it comes from. And whether it comes from the security guard on the gate or the junior employee who started just a few days ago, to really listen to what they say and then take from it, but never take it personally. And for me, again, because my upbringing was different from most people's, I see it as being ego-driven when the boss doesn't want to hear anything from anyone else. But let's face it, no one knows everything. And we can't see our backs, so to speak. And having people who are observing from different angles gives you the best advice. And any organization I've ever run, I always want to hear different opinions, even if it makes you smart. It's not all the time they're saying what you want to hear.
Right.
But then you take it on and then you try to improve from that.
Do you think women naturally have an ego, or it comes with advancing to a position of authority?
The second one. I think it tends to come as they go up the ladder. Because as women or from young girls, we are taught to be demure, to be, be there but not heard, all of those types of things.
Right.
But as we grow wings or as we get, older, then sometimes the egos tend to come forward. But, I truly believe, and I'm not saying this because I'm in front of millions of people,
right.
But I truly believe that being open and humble is a currency that will take you anywhere in the world, even if you don't understand the language. And so if you let your ego get ahead of you, it could be your downfall.
So then when they say you have to set boundaries, when you get to it, so what does it mean? How do you set the boundaries there?
Okay, now setting the boundaries, there's different types of boundaries from where I sit. Professional boundaries are such that, if, let's say someone is a friend, but you're now in a work environment, whether it's different companies or collaborative, then your language, your interactions is a bit more formal.
Right.
And you can't be too known, basically undermining the person who is maybe the senior in the room just because you have a personal relationship. And so that's one boundary. The other boundary on a more personal level is, you can have, say, very good friends who are at different stages in their lives, but you're all friends.
Right.
And they might confide in with you something personal. And yes, they say as a group of 5 of you are friends. The person has taken you into their confidence.
Identified you.
Exactly. You should know that part of your boundary, you don't go blabbing it to the other 4 people in the group, because if she wanted to share, she would have done that. And so,
I like that.
Yeah,
That you share.
Exactly. And I don't know if you're like this, but I have a lot of friends, but it's not everybody you tell everything to. And so you have to, and I'm sure with them also. So boundaries are something that you have to respect. And as they say, read the room.
Read the room.
Yes.
Read the room.
Yes.
Read the room.
Yes.
Read the room. Now, you are not a Ghanaian.
No.
You're
some
from
people
Bermuda.
say, because I've been here for actually going on 24 years.
24 years?
Yes. Some people say, oh, you're Ghanaian.
Which man brought you to Ghana?
Actually, my husband's not Ghanaian either.
Okay.
And we wanted to live in Africa.
Okay.
And we did a research. We visited a number of countries, and Ghana just resonated with both of us. We loved it. I mean, as far back as in the late 90s, way before Ghana was as developed and sophisticated as it is now.
Yeah.
But we could see it was going somewhere. And I loved the people, the culture, the food, and believe it or not, even the shopping.
Well,
Now,
okay.
yes. And a friend of mine was shocked yesterday when we were talking, and she said, "Oh, it's in Makala. I'll send somebody there to get." I said, "I know Makala." She said, "You do?" I used to spend, no exaggeration, on a Saturday morning from 8 in the morning till like 4 in the afternoon, just roaming around Makala.
Looking for what?
Sometimes for nothing. But I was just, it was so new to me. And sometimes you would buy tea towels, some fabric, accessories, sometimes nothing. And in halfway through, when the sun was hot and the sweat was pouring, I would find my way to Rollins Park, because that was my anchor.
Yeah.
And I would order my kebabs and a cold drink, refresh myself, and go again. And for me...
Did you make some friends there?
Oh, absolutely.
When they see you, said, oh, Bruni Naba.
Yes. And people always looked out for me because, for anybody who's been there, I mean, the place is so vast.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would have to ask, how do I get back to Rollins Park? Because I knew the parking lot. From there, I could find my way back to where the car was parked. But that was some of the best times in my early years here in Ghana. And I even got some other friends who would come with me. But after a while, they thought I was crazy. Carrie, you're not even buying anything. But being able to enjoy and soak in the culture, see the beautiful fabrics. Oh, yes.
See how your eyes just lit up the beautiful fabrics.
Oh, yeah. I'm a shopaholic. So, for me, it's all very fascinating.
But Karen, are you crazy?
No, not at all.
I think you're crazy. And a restless soul.
Yes. No, I'm an adventurer. You see, I like to explore. I like to ask questions. So sometimes I would see things being sold. I don't know what it is. If it's something edible, I might buy one and taste it. I may not always like it.
See why I say you're crazy?
No, life is an adventure. And even more today, as I'm now over 60.
You what?
Yes. And my last birthday was 63.
Wow.
And I am
You are beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And sexy. Now, how did you identify? I said you do so many things. So you've traveled. How many countries have you been to so far?
At last count, I've been to about 30 countries in my lifetime. Yes.
Wow.
Many of them in Africa.
Yes. And then when you go there, you get involved with the people.
Yes, because that's how you get to really know a culture. If you just do a drop in and you look at a few buildings.
What are you looking for people's culture?
Well,
are you still trying to identify or rediscover yourself?
No. Okay, I have this theory that at the essence of all of us, irrespective of where we're born, where we're from, or our circumstances, we all want to belong, we want to feel beautiful, and we want to enjoy life, which includes peace. This is my theory.
Right.
And so when I go to countries, and I meet people and I'm asking questions and I want to know about their life, etc. It helps me understand who they are and what they're about. And it helps me connect better.
Right.
And for me, that is some of the most enjoyable things I could do.
Yeah. And how do you find time to do all this? You're married.
Yes.
You have a family.
Yes.
You are a global speaker.
Yes.
Speaking across the world. you were one time the CEO of Rapito. Now you are CEO of the new airline.
Yes, Malaikair.
Malaikair.
It's going to be based here in Ghana.
Okay.
Our first flights will be in August, and I will happily extend you an invitation. What is going to be our mantra? We will be flying to the Caribbean.
Ooh, please, I want to go to Bermuda.
Yeah, Bermuda, Barbados, Jamaica.
Ooh.
And here's the best part. We're not going through the US or the UK.
Direct flight.
Yes.
That's
so the
awesome.
flight is shorter, and the places we're flying to, Africans don't need a visa.
Amazing.
Yes. So
amazing.
Yeah. So my role in the company is more on the travel and tour side, the loyalty programs, the credit and debit cards that we'll be issuing, as well as travel insurance and all of that. So we call it the ancillary services.
Okay.
So that's more my part of the whole airline. But yes, so I'll keep you posted.
Please do.
Yes.
Please do. I need to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into you, because you are such a woman of power.
Oh, thank you.
63 and you're starting a new job.
Yes. I would say this is my fourth transformation in my life.
Your fourth transformation?
My fourth, yes.
We'll get back and talk about the various transformations that you've been through. I'm just wondering, have you always had this glamorous life? Well, you are watching TSP with Gifty Auntie, and I am Gifty Auntie. Thank you to Auntie Vera, House of Food, and the team. Mrs. Ofori Poco, we are so grateful to you. Of course, Venom Mineral Water, Bigo Drinks, Juice Time, 100% fruit juices, All Cuisine. Thank you. Yep, cleaning services. Make sure our environment is clean. And of course, a beautiful plant from E-Garden. That's the healing garden at, Butchie. Amazing woman, amazing place to be. And I know Karen would pay a visit to that place very soon. I mean, it's a beautiful environment. We'll be back. Welcome back to the all-new TSP with Gifty Auntie. And again, I say thank you to Adipa Fabrics for my beautiful and colorful fabric. My dress is by Bri Ridua. As always, thank you so much. Hair by Inshilo GH and makeup by the Glow Bar. Of course, my beads and earrings by Twinny Craft. And my guest today is the one and only Karen Hendrickson, and originally from Bermuda, settled in Ghana for over 20 years, and she is a transformation specialist. Have you always had a glamorous life?
Well, to me, it's not glamorous, but I've always had this type of life.
Okay. How's growing up for you in Bermuda?
Okay, actually, it was wonderful. I have 7 brothers and sisters. Okay. And so you can imagine the house. It was always lots of us running around. And tons of cousins. And Bermuda being a tiny island surrounded by water. Every spare moment we were at the beach. And in fact, our house was right on the beach. So lots of swimming, canoeing, things like that. But my parents were always entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And as long as I've been alive, they owned their own business.
Okay.
So as soon as we were old enough, we had to help out in either the guest house or the restaurant. So I think that's where my work ethic came from. And in those days, not that I can remember, even my grandmother, she worked right up until she passed. Not because she had to, but because that's what she loved to do. So this work ethic has been with me for forever. Right. But we get bored of things. Right. And then you want to change. Right. So you don't stop, but you transform into something else. Yes. So my after university, what a lot of people don't know, my first degree is in accounting. Ooh. And but accountants are not
You're really... a nerd.
Well, exactly. And I always felt like my personality didn't match my career. And so after doing that for almost 10 years, I said, no, I got to get out of this field. I was an accountant for a reinsurance company. And from there, I went into investment banking. And I had to start from the beginning. As a junior person, even though as an accountant, I was quite senior. But I just needed a change. And I went to work for the Bank of Bermuda. And within 3 years, I had really been promoted. And within 5 years, I was running my own department and having fun, traveling all over the world. I was married to my career.
Okay.
Marriage was the furthest thing from my mind at the time.
Tell me about it.
And I saw so much of the world on the bank.
But didn't you have the pressure?
I did. I had my mother sending me little clip outs from the paper about fertility and children.
Okay.
But I'm a Sagittarian. I'm kind of stubborn.
Right.
And I go my own way.
Rebel from birth.
Yes. So when and all my friends, you can imagine, they were getting married. Some were also getting divorced. Yeah. And so, the pressure was there, right. But I was enjoying my life. And I would ignore the subtle hints, where are my grandchildren and all of that. And luckily, because I have so many siblings, they also, they got married and started to have kids. So that takes over the pressure.
Concentrate on that.
Yes, exactly. You've got some. Even though I was amongst the oldest, I was like the third oldest.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the line, all that travel and making rich people richer, because that was my job.
Right.
I started to feel restless. So the third transformation started to come. In between there, I met my husband.
Okay.
And then he relocated from the US to Bermuda. And the more we got to know each other, leading up to our marriage, we realized that we both wanted to be in Africa.
Okay.
He was originally from Nigeria.
Yeah. Okay.
But had moved to the US as a student and basically stayed there.
Yeah. Okay.
So then it was like, okay, where do we move to? And that's where the third adventure began. Right. And after about 2.5 years of visiting countries, checking things out, we both felt Ghana was the perfect place. And not so much because of where it was at the time. But where we could see it was going. And we wanted to be part of the
That's interesting
evolution.
Because he could have said, let's go to Nigeria.
Well, no, in fact, he was adamant. Absolutely not. No. And one of our criteria, it had to be a place where none of us had connections. Yes. We wanted to start fresh in a place where we knew no one. That's part of the journey.
Yeah. Then the post there, and let's go there. It looks like you had a lot of conversations.
Oh, absolutely.
Before you got married.
Oh, definitely. It was
when you got a lot of conversations and
definitely.
You put,
Yes. Whilst we hear about stories of people falling in love and the next thing you know, they're married. By the time I met my husband, I was in my late 30s. And I had a lot of my friends had married, divorced, married again. And divorced. So I knew it was important that whoever I ended up with, I was thinking it was more going to be a life partner too, if I'm being honest. I didn't plan on getting married.
Right.
But he was having none of it. But there was a lot of conversations, a lot of, what we want in each other, our strengths, our weaknesses. For instance, I told him right at the get-go, I'm a career girl. I am not the type who, first of all, I can't even really cook. Okay, I know how to boil a good egg, do a good soup, but it ends right there.
I know why we hit it off,
And he was like, oh, I'm okay with that. I said, are you sure? Because, I said, my skill, and he laughs at this to this day, was making reservations. In any city I find myself, I can tell you where you can get one of the best meals. Yes. So, Yeah. So, we were
Because before then, you worked and you earned your own money.
Exactly.
And you lived your own life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, when I finished university when I was 19, actually.
Whoa.
And by 21, I had my own apartment. So for all those years, it was Karen responsible for Karen. And, to progress in my field, I had to be able to put in the time and the effort to rise above the rest.
Right.
Because as you know, a female, particularly in a male dominated environment, you have to be 110% better than the closest person is to you.
Right.
And so it meant going the extra mile. So I used to have a rule back then. I never went home before my boss. Never. And I always tried to learn something new within a month, in that, even if it wasn't directly to do with my department, because I wanted to be an all-rounder. Wow. And I knew that that was important. So people are amazed, for instance, that at my level, now I am a whiz on the computer. Excel, Word, PowerPoint. In fact, I teach it.
Right.
But I had bosses who didn't even know how to turn on a computer or send an email. And I would say, I don't want to be like that. And they were wholly dependent on other people. So for me, learning and evolving was very important.
Do you have a phobia for dependence?
I do, actually. How did you know that? How did you know that?
I just picked it up from your conversation.
But yes, I do.
Have a phobia for dependence.
Absolutely do. And again, I can hear my grandmother's voice in my head. Her and I were very close growing up. Yeah. In fact, I have memories as young as the age of 5, going with her in Bermuda. She had lots of properties that she rented. And she would take me along, and she'd always be telling me about, a woman should have her own money. A woman should, be able to take care of herself and her family if she has to. And she used to say something else that at the time I never understood. But I get it now. She said, be careful of the person you choose to marry, because if you choose wrongly, it can negatively affect up to 2 generations. Now imagine you're telling this to a child that she's coming up as a teenager. I heard it and I was like, what is she talking about? But I get it now. I have seen in friends, they've chosen the wrong partner, and it doesn't just stop there. The children are affected, then the grandchildren, and so forth. But
it becomes like a cycle.
Exactly. And so I'm so grateful for the times I spent with her. And it was much later in life I learned, I was about 14, I learned my grandmother couldn't read or write. So, and for what she did. You
never picked it up.
Never picked it up
because of the way she could.
Yes, and the pearls of wisdom that was always coming from her mouth. And then when I learned to read and write at about 4 or 5. So when I would go with her, she'd say, practice your writing, write that receipt. So I learned how to write receipts and do things very early age. And she would take me to the bank with her. And when I was out of school, you count this, put this in the bank. So it was years later. And
So you had mentorship and grooming right
from
home.
Exactly.
How important is that for a woman, to do that with your children and grandchildren?
It is crucial.
Especially the girls.
Thank you. You took the words out of my mouth. Boys, either naturally or they get it. I have 4 brothers. So in my family, it's 4 boys, 4 girls. And whilst my dad, he was like an equal opportunist. But the boys, they gravitated towards him. And in my family, my mother was an entrepreneur like my father, but my grandmother was the one who was still connected, if you will, to the old country because she came from Jamaica. And mentorship, even though she wouldn't have used those words because she wasn't educated, but those pearls of wisdom, Oh my goodness. And that is why I realize that it is so important to give back to the young people. And they have to be willing to receive it, because it's not everything you understand
I like that.
today.
Willing to receive it.
Yes, exactly. Willing to receive it. And and that's why for me, I'm always giving back. But I will tell the young people or my direct reports, when I'm talking and sharing and giving you feedback, don't take it negatively. You should be worried when I stop saying anything.
Right.
Because when I say nothing, it means that I feel there is no hope. Okay? Alrighty. But until that point, I'm going to be there for you. And one of the things I have to say that I've enjoyed so much being in Ghana is that sometimes out of the blue, young people have reached out to me and told me what my mentorship has meant to them. And at the time, I knew the person hated me. I'm thinking of one particular person. I knew she hated me because I was always on her back about she was coasting on her looks, but she was an intelligent young lady and she wasn't using it. Always on her back. She eventually even asked to be transferred because she just couldn't take the heat.
From you.
And then eventually she left to go back and do her master's. About 3 years later, out of the blue, I get this email that starts off, "This email is 2 years late. I want to thank you for forcing me to live up to my potential. And I want you to know I've graduated and I'm now an assistant vice president she's in a major bank, not working in Ghana, but in Togo next door." What? And she said she knew she would have never gotten there without me forcing her to live up to her potential. Because she had it. You know, it's one thing if a person doesn't have it. Then okay, you understand, okay? But when you have it and you're just coasting, yes. So it's things like that that really make me feel that my life has meaning, you know? It's not just about, you know, the things I love, fancy clothes and great food, but it has impact. Impact.
And the fourth transformation came?
The fourth transformation came...
Oh, we are still on the fourth.
No, okay, the third transformation was when I came to Ghana, put aside my banking investment hat and entered into first retail in Ghana. I was actually one of the owners of the Scoop restaurant in East Legon many, many years ago.
Wow.
And then went into corporate Ghana.
Okay.
And that was a real transformation for me because I had to learn the work culture. I had to infuse my work ethic with the current work ethic, like people showing up and saying, couldn't get car.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! If I had
rain.
Yes, exactly. But you know, but we were able to do some fantastic things. Right. I've traveled the length and breadth of this country. I've done consulting projects for businesses now that are flourishing, and all because I didn't say no to anything. I've been through rainforests. I've been through desert parts of Ghana. I have visited and spoken at schools. In fact, if I can, I don't know how much time we have, but I'll just tell you this one story, and it really gladdens my heart to this day. I was asked by a very large NGO when cell phones were first coming into Ghana to travel to a very rural part of Ghana, which didn't have cell phone service in those days, and they didn't have electricity. And I was supposed to meet with a farmers organization to find out how they got their things to market, and what would having a phone service that gave them the prices of, say, maize in the cities like Tamale or Techiman or places like that. And so off I went because I like an adventure. They gave me an interpreter, and it was a very rural. I remember it was a Muslim community because we got there just as prayers was finishing, and we sat and waited for the meeting to begin. And all the men came around. The women were far, far off, but I could see them. And through an interpreter, I asked questions, we talked, etc. And when we were finished, they actually gave me 2 live chickens, because the farmers were very appreciative that I had come so far. And for me, my job was done. I'd done what I came. And as I was leaving, a little girl, I'd say she was about maybe 6 or 7, she came and tugged on my skirt. And she said, "My mommy wants to know, what are you saying why the men are listening to you?" And I was like, whoa. So I said, "Where's your mommy?" And when I turned, there was a bunch of women sitting there. So I asked the translator to come. In that village, the children could speak English because they were going to schools. And even with the farmers, the younger boys were the ones who could speak. So I went, and then I explained to them why I had come through the interpreter. And the little girl says, "What do you do that men will listen to you? Now think about that." And I explained, because she was a child, I said, basically, I'm a consultant, and I'm just doing some investigations to see if a phone could help your fathers and uncles. And the little girl said, "Wow." And she turned back and she looked at her mother like, she didn't say anything, but the way I read the look was like, I didn't know this was possible. And then she said one other thing to me. She said, "You're so beautiful." Oh. But I said to her, "But not as beautiful as you." And she was like, I've never forgotten that. Never forgotten that. Nobody had told her she was beautiful. And so for me, so I spent some time, I talked to the women, I explained everything that I spoke to the men about.
I'm sure the men were not pleased.
No, they weren't. They weren't. And, and they even gave me some additional insights that the men hadn't given. Yes. So when I left there, I had a more well-rounded perspective of the impact of what they used to call like a yam phone could do for them. And
so you agree it's important to be deliberate and intentional about empowering women?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that little interaction with that little girl, I now, wherever I go, if I see a young child, especially if they're looking at me, and it's clear to see that I'm more than likely not from Ghana. Though in Cape Coast, I seem to just
fit in. Everybody that's nice.
Yes. And I always take time to at least smile or greet the young person, because it's not every day somebody like me comes through wherever they are. And, and you never know where they are going to end up. Exactly. So sharing kindness or a little bit of joy or making them feel valued, that takes nothing away from me. Nothing. So why not do it?
Let me ask you this. Do you have hope in the younger generation of women we have today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say in about 45 to 50%. There's a 50% group who they're watching too much BET and MTN, and they're going in my opinion, as an oldie, they're going in the wrong direction. But I am so happy with what young people, specifically in Africa and in Ghana, what they're doing. They're creating their own way financially. They're doing businesses. They're those who are choosing to have families are correcting the things that they felt they didn't get as they were growing up. And more than anything, they're resilient. They're resilient. One stumbling block doesn't make them fall apart. And I don't want to leave the men out, but I'm also seeing that in the young men as well. They're creating, they're developing. They're not waiting for some corporate master to come and create or give them a job. And even if they have that job, they're doing something on the side to elevate themselves, to elevate their country, and elevate the continent. How can I not be proud of them?
How can you not be proud of them?
Exactly.
And now you're becoming a presenter.
Yes.
You have presenter, traveling, creating contents, and the recent one too, that beautiful garden home in the central region.
Yes, yes.
When do you intend to start?
Well, actually, in some ways, I've already started. About 8 years ago, I actually did a series of programs going around. I've just not released them yet.
Okay.
But in addition to that, I've always been a presenter, a speaker. Part of the skill I was forced to master when I was at the bank and I became senior vice president. They made you take a communications course. And they taught, in that course, you were taught how to present, how to speak. And then on top of that, I've acted before. When I was 19, 20, I did live plays and theaters in Bermuda. So all of those skills come together to help one be able to, as I like to put it, captivate an audience.
Yes, captivate, and you were very captivating. Now, my last two wild cards, and they're very crazy and silly and controversial and everything. How are you dealing with menopause?
Oh my gosh! Oh my goodness! Well, for me, for menopause, and I'm very thankful, knock on wood, is only two things have happened when I know many people have a lot worse. The two things is I have gotten bigger, and I didn't know why. Because, that's not something my parents ever spoke to me about, or my grandparents. In fact, my mother was telling me right up until she passed, she never had menopause, and she was almost 80. So we never spoke about it. Right. So as I was gaining weight, I didn't understand why. But that's stabilized now. But the other thing is the hot flashes or the personal summers. Yeah. Where you could be in a freezer and then the perspiration comes. And the younger ones who don't really understand, they're looking at the AC like, and then they're rushing and they're bringing you things. And you're trying to explain that, no, it's a personal summer. It will pass. It will pass. So, yes. So I'm grateful that that's it. But that last one, sometimes, especially like when you travel, right? And you remember when COVID was going around, and I'd be like, I don't want to be breaking out in a sweat going through the airport. They pull me over because they think I have COVID, when it's simply a hot flash.
I know. Yes, I know. And then the last one, you mean it hasn't affected your sex life?
No, not at all.
Wait a minute. The way you're no.
Not at all.
You mean you're still having it? Oh, you're still hitting it.
Hey, I'm only 63.
I love you.
Not 93. Not 103. Yes. No. And that's why I'm grateful that it's just those two things. Yeah. Yes, because for many other people, it's a lot more severe. Yeah. Yes.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you.
Now, do you have kids?
No, but I've brought up my niece from she was a child. So
was it a decision you took?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You talked about it right from the beginning with your husband that you're not going to have kids.
Exactly. Well, remember, I was in my 40s when I got married.
Right.
So, yes. And thankfully, even though people say, oh, that's very unusual for an African man, in his family, not only did they have a lot of siblings, but he had quite a number of relatives who the husbands were forcing the wives, they must have the kids because they need to have a child. And the women died. And one of them was his favorite auntie. Wow. And he said he would never want that to happen to anyone. So for me, being surrounded by a lot of nieces and nephews, and so therefore, I felt that I could give back through them. I brought up my niece since she was about, a year and a half. Right. Her schooling, everything. Of that. In fact, I remember my husband saying to me after we were married for about 6 months, he said, you can drop the act. He said, you can tell me, Shayla's really your daughter, isn't she? And I was like, no, she's my niece. She's my brother's child. And you see, she looks exactly like me, one. And two, every decision, you know, I was involved, etc. And even now he teases me and he says, I still think it's a family secret. You had her when you were young and your family's kept it.
Nobody wants to see it.
Yes.
It's been wonderful talking to you. So what's next? Of course, we are looking forward to the Airline in August.
Yes.
And Philanthropy, I mean,
definitely.
You are
Children's
all over
Heart Foundation Ghana. Yeah. I've been involved since the very beginning, 15 years ago. Our ball is coming up in October, and where we raise money for children in Ghana who need open heart surgery and their parents can't afford to pay for it. We pay for everything. And over the years, we've done over 200 children. Wow. We've raised over $2 million. And that also gives me just so much joy. And then in addition to that, I plan, even once the airline takes off, I actually plan on doing a lot more travel through the continent of Africa. Specifically West Africa. Right. I want to see more. So those, the Visual Orator is my handle on Instagram.
Visual
They can
Orator,
follow my adventures on that because I am an adventurer and I love to share.
Indeed, you are an adventurer and you love to share. And thank you so much for sharing your untold stories. I'm sure some of the things you shared that you've not shared anywhere. Yeah, and it's beautiful and it's very impactful. I love you. I just love everything about you. And thank you so much for being part of our first 4, guests on TSP when we transform from the standpoint to TSP with Gifty Auntie. God bless you. Love your plating.
Thank you.
Again,
I'm so honored. So honored.
I'll be back with a bit of me. So how did you get into this?
I studied home economics from...
You studied what?
Home economics.
Okay.
The one they call home econs.
Home econs.
So hotel throughout.
And hotels?
Yes.
So when did the electricals and all that?
And I was the general manager for Hotel De Hilda. And actually, I got into Hotel De Hilda as an operations officer.
Okay.
And from then, I moved on to the general manager. I was in my office one day when one of my customers walked in and spoke to me about business. But I made him, he was trying to ask me, how is business? Do I enjoy what I'm doing? And I said yes. And I even made him aware that I'm looking at setting up something of myself. So this is how it began. So at the end of the day, he is an Australian who came to visit one of the mining companies in Takwa. So he was like, I came to Takwa to open a business. So why don't we start? And it's like, it's mining. I said mining. But I said, yes, I'm interested.
The audacity.
Yes.
Why are you afraid of failure?
It won't help me.
You had a desire to make it.
Yes.
You had a desperation to make it in life.
Yes. I had to make it.
Well, you say you had to. Why? Now, spare me a moment. Transformation is important. As human beings, we can never fully discover ourselves. We have to constantly rediscover, constantly add value to who we are. We have to constantly package and repackage ourselves. That is by making what we have at any given time work for us and finding out how it can work for us. Excuses doesn't cut anymore. Excuses doesn't. Oh, I'm a woman. Hello, woman. We've gone past that long time ago. Oh, but I'm young. Oh, but I'm old. No way. I nearly use certain words. But enough. Once you have a life, once you are alive, anything and everything is possible. We can start, restart, revitalize, rejuvenate, restore. Give me the accolades, the words, but we never will be stagnant. So woman, quick, Get up. Gird your loins. Wear your boots. Fix your wrapper, as my Nigerians will say, and let's get moving, because you have more to yourself than you will ever know. Don't give up. I am Gifty Auntie, a woman with super crazy faith in God. But I know that God gave us some limitless power to transform ourselves. See you same time next week. Bye for now.